What's up, guys? I'm glad you're here. My name is Drake, and you're listening to the Double Click Podcast by Holy Hill Media. Well, it's crazy, bro. I'm actually super excited for this one, man, because young dude, I feel like you're in the middle, though, because I feel like a lot of guys around here in this industry are like either super old or like super young.
Right. That's exactly right, man. That's a great, from the outside looking in, that's a very valid point.
Yeah, and I know that you probably have an opinion about that, like how that...
I think for the most part, the older guys, they're going to give you a lot of wisdom, but when it comes to like the tech part of it, that's like, I feel like one of the biggest transitions. They don't really have as much, they're harder to adapt to this, the media, the marketing, so if I see somebody that's an older guy that's in the industry, like, and they're doing that, I feel like you got to kind of be hip to that,
100%.
But then also, the older crowd, some of them are really set on their ways, like older style of building or products and things like that, whereas the newer generation, everybody's again on the media, and they're pushing these new products, and we're seeing them all the time. So I think
it's a catch 2020 though, right?
Yeah.
Because like you got the young guys who are like, oh, I should start my own because it's so easy to get clients because they know the digital world, they know the social media world, they know how to make content, but they don't necessarily have the workmanship down quite yet.
And another thing is like, I guess for like overall, my opinion on the older crowd is going to be just being able to adapt overall, I guess, my uncle, right? My dad and my uncle, they're builders, and they built on Bald Head Island, and they've been out there for a long time. And they used to do everything themselves, framing, siding, trim, everything. We're like, we use the majority of subcontract actually for everything, so it's just a matter of like trying to manage those guys and manage those subcontractors that we deal with every day, versus like having our own payroll guys that do the framing and the siding and the trim and that type of thing. So,
Which is interesting because like we're getting into the meat quick, which I love this. So like the difference between your dad and your uncle is kind of like the old school mentality. I'm gonna do it all myself.
Right.
But you can't scale that way though. You can't scale, right? Like
meaning what?
Like you're hiring everything out so you can run the business instead of working in the business. You're working on the business.
That's a fact. Yeah. So, exactly. Right. So, yeah, with them, the growth, I feel like you're limited to doing only what you can do if you don't incorporate as many people as you possibly can.
Right.
Which is pretty huge because like that's one thing I learned very early on is like you want to be able to have these connections like with everybody, and another thing is like I treat everybody like really, really highly. Like I treat everybody like they're my family. I treat everybody like how they want to be treated. So whenever I'm in a bind or just in general, I like people, they love working with me because I'm a nice guy. I'm a personal guy. I'll ask you about, hey, how's the family? It's like, because that goes a long way. People like, rather than the older people or some of the other guys that, they don't really care,
Yeah.
So I think that's like huge. And then that goes a long way for me. I'm able to, I build relationships,
100%.
So like these guys are like my friends, and, they can call me and we could shoot the shit and have a good time. And, it's not always got to be business. Like,
Right.
We can have fun. And, and there's a fine line between that too, that I've been, having to experience. And it's like, because, you want to be nice and you want to be, treat everybody friendly, but at the same time, you don't want to be taken advantage of either,
Yep.
So there is a very fine line, and you see that as I get older and I see these people how, or just kind of use my family as an example, they may not have these relationships with some of these guys, and it's probably, it's a good and bad, because it's like, okay, well, you might be considered a dick or an asshole or something like that. But in reality, you know, when you're feared a little bit, you know, I feel
There's
like those,
respect.
right. So
Yeah.
I like to, you know, but I'm a nice guy overall. So you really won't catch me in that asshole or dick mode. And I can still get my point across because, hey, it's like, if you want to do business, if you know, I'm growing, we do a lot of business, we spend a lot of money. If you want to do business with us, you got to do it this way. If you don't, you know, we're going to get somebody else. And like, you know, you know, you could get your point across that way without having to be an asshole at the same time too.
100%.
You
And
know?
it's like it's hard to do that when you're a growing company, especially in the growing stage, because you have to be able to build these relationships with not just your employees or your clients, but your subs as well.
Right.
And then as you're building those, you also kind of got to hold the line though and be like, hey, the paycheck's still coming from me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
And that's the hard balance, right? Because the hardest thing to do is to lead and be friends, because you
Right.
always got to lead first, because at the end of the day, we're here because of Delaney.
Correct.
Right? We're here because of DCC. And so as that progresses, have you found yourself, it sounds like you're more of like a CEO type versus kind of, I'm sure you can get in the weeds and do the building because you've been
Yeah.
there. That's your roots.
Yeah.
But like, it does seem like the CEO, the leadership, the people, the scales, the systems, kind of more your natural bread.
That's that thing. I would say so because, you know, I've been in the field. I've done it. You know, I've been a carpenter. I am a carpenter. I guess at heart, I might not be the best one, but you know, I've done it and I've experienced it. But I guess my mentality is kind of like a boss mentality. To be honest with you, it's just really like I want to be successful. I want to take care of people. And I want to be able to you know, to do what I want to do too. You know what I mean? So like, which is really cool. But at the end of the day, you know, like you said, if you want to get in there and if I got to get my hands dirty, I will. But the relationships help me a lot to where I don't have to get my hands dirty because I can pick up the phone and like that. You know what I mean?
Solve
Which
the
is
problem.
super. And I'm a super problem solver because I have to be.
Yeah.
It's my job. And when I was younger, getting started, I was like, you know, problem solving, I feel like was the hardest part of my job. Literally, like I was, you know, I tried to avoid it, I guess.
Yeah.
But you can't because you're dealing with so many things. Like, you know, building a house, there's so many steps, and like you're dealing with so many personalities, and people are just like, oh man, you can't do this. I got to go home. No, this is what you have to do.
Right.
And it's like a babysitting, you
Yeah.
know, and like you have to cater to people's personalities and you have to vibe with people and kind of be able to read people. But, you know, I do like the leadership role. And I do, I genuinely care about taking care of people. So I do think that that's a pretty big, you know, part of what I do too. You know?
100%. I mean, and that always attributes to success is how you take care of your people, man. So, but speaking of the early days, like when you're getting started, I want to talk about kind of like 30,000 foot view, just so the listeners know, like, obviously like Delaney Coastal Construction, like it's been in the family, but then you took over January 2020. That's when we started Holy Hill Media 2. It's a super interesting time to start a business because the world shut down a couple months later.
Yeah.
All that. So let's zoom out for a sec. Just to tell the audience what all you offer, obviously the new home builds and everything, and the renovation, everything like that. And then from there, I just want to kind of like transition, like what those early days were like.
Yeah.
Because again, like Apocalypse Now, 2020, and you were young getting started too, like crazy times.
Man, it was before 2020. That's just when Delaney's Coastal got started.
Right. And you took over though around that time though, right?
When you say take over, you mean like did I take over my uncle's company?
Essentially, yeah.
Nah, that never happened.
Oh, okay,
I
okay.
was actually the complete opposite of that. It
Okay.
was trials and tribulations,
Oh,
and,
no.
and they were more so against me.
Gotcha.
So my story is really kind of cool. Like sometimes I wish like when I got older, like, you know, I feel like I can write a book because of the things that I've overcome and things like that.
Oh, we're gonna get in there.
But
We're gonna get in
it's cool because you know, at 2025, Delaney's Coastal Construction is full service construction company. You know, you want to have your house built, you want to do renovations, you want to do decking, whatever. Like I don't really discriminate against the job or the money. Smaller jobs nowadays are harder to get to just because, you know, I like to carry that same customer service and satisfaction all the way through. And if it's a smaller scale job, even smaller jobs can have issues or have problems, and it's harder for me to dedicate that time to them. But yeah, I don't really discriminate against them. I like to get in there, and I've got so many guys who are like constantly, they know our quality, they know what we want to do, and they're hungry. Everybody's hungry. It's like I have the crews, I have the relationships. Let's put them to use. Like
feed them.
And if I'm a great leader and if I'm a great manager, then I should be able to take care of those projects and be able to capitalize on them.
Yeah.
Execute them. So, but yeah, in my earlier days, I was working for my uncle and my dad, and this was like back, 2016.
Okay.
When I graduated high school in 2012. So I had as soon as I graduated, I jumped in, started working with my family like in the field on Bald Head Island because they build custom homes. And I pretty much I did that for for 6 years, pretty much on and off. And I decided I basically I was on and off, and working for my uncle, and I decided, well, I think I had like got laid off or something like that, or like I was beefing with the fam. So at the time, back in like 2017, my wife had gotten pregnant, and I had some money saved up, and I wanted to go buy a house. And so I had just got laid off working. So I went to go talk to a mortgage lender, a great guy, Richard Lytle.
Plug.
Super, super nice guy, local lender around here. And I go to holler at him. Like I said, my wife's pregnant. I'm living in a 1-bedroom condo downtown. And I'm like, yo, Richard, I'm trying to buy this house. Like, one of my goals was to always buy a house. My dad had always instilled that in me. And he
And how old are you at this time?
so I'm 30. I'll be 31 in July.
Okay.
And
So you were probably around 25 around this time?
I was like 23 maybe.
Oh, 23, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably like 23. And so I went to holler at him, and he was like, "Hey, look, I see you got some money, but where's your paperwork? I see you you
Income.
got laid off, or like where's your most recent pay stubs or whatever?" And I'm like, "Oh, blah blah blah. I've been working for X amount of years, like that doesn't count." And they're like, "Oh well, no, we need to see something consistent." And he's like, "Come back to me in 2 years when you have like your paperwork together." And that was super humbling, because I don't really like being told no. So I'm kind of like, okay, well, let me go back to the drawing board. So I was working as a W-2 employee, and I decided, well, all right, well, I think a trick around this was I was going to start up my own LLC. That way, if I wanted to go and work for somebody, if I got fired, my clock wasn't going to restart, because, mortgages, they want to see 1.5 years, 2 years consistent work history.
Yep.
Now, if you own your own business and you work for somebody, well, you don't necessarily get fired. You just, okay, you might switch up, or the money still, that LLC is not getting closed down.
Let's go
so
to the next job.
Yeah, let's get the 2 years rolling, and that way the clock doesn't stop. So I started up my own LLC, and I decided I wanted to get in and start doing little small jobs, doing, whether somebody wanted to replace a door or replace a window, or, do some trim, I can do it. And I would just take the money and run that through my account, and then just kind of base it off of like that. And, I mean, the story goes on and on and on. I don't know if I want to necessarily bore you guys with all the details, but, essentially, I did that. I started working on my own, doing little odd jobs and stuff for a couple of years. And then I went back to the mortgage lender 2 years later and was like, "Hey, look, what does this look like?" Qualified me for a home, $180,000 loan, bought a house for me and my family, which was super awesome.
Come on.
And then 2 years later, I sold that house for like, $320,000. So, that was a come up. And like, it's like you almost need those, you almost need that, like, I don't know.
Reality check, gut punch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. It's like, damn, this sucks. Like, man, like you're telling me I got this money and like I feel like I'm the man nowadays. Like, I'm 23 years old. Like I'm whipping an Audi A5. I'm like, yeah, I feel awesome. I had a condo. It's like, hey man, we can't help you. My credit score is great. I'm like, dang man, you can't help me. Like I'm trying to do the right thing for my family. You know what I mean? And like, then I had to really, sacrifice and kind of put some of the things I was doing off to the side to really, to accomplish that goal. And that's another thing. Like some people don't really realize, like, I had a friend of mine at that time when I started up that LLC. I was doing some of the odd jobs and they weren't really big jobs. And I had a friend of mine that he was like, hey, Chris, my dad, he's got this contract with Speedway, the gas stations. And he's like, but we gotta go like Midwest and like restripe these gas stations, like putting new price tags and stuff on all the merchandise, whatever, like in like Indiana and Kentucky and like Chicago and crazy places like this. Meanwhile, I have a newborn daughter on the way. And I was like, you know what, like this is going to be, and so I was like, okay, well, if I work for them, I'm just going to give them my company and start getting consistently paid through my LLC, which I thought was going to help me accomplish my goal. So I had to move away from here for 6 months just to try to,
Move to the Midwest.
Yeah, man.
I'm so sorry, man.
When I had a newborn daughter, like, you know what I mean? This is completely out of my element, but I sacrificed that to accomplish that goal. Like I didn't want to leave. And honestly, like I said, like I was doing my thing here, doing little small jobs and whatnot. But, like I did take that time to set aside to build that for my family. And and like, that's a sacrifice. I live on the beach. I don't want to go to friggin',
Indiana.
Dude, I was in crazy places. I don't even know where I was at. I swear I don't. But I know that it sucked sleeping in and out of hotels. And, and so I respect anybody who does that type of thing. And that's a sacrifice, that's what you do to take care of your family. And, we were getting jerked around on the road a little bit and we ended up deciding that we wanted to, I got with my buddy and we were like, hey, look, let's do something back home. Like, we're getting jerked around. So we continued that company here and just kept, putting money through my business account. And that, one thing led to another. And then that kind of, happened, So.
Wow. So you went from a place of honestly, you threw the LLC together just because you want to be able to buy a home.
Yeah.
And then
100%.
that turned into some scrapey jobs, which we all start with.
Yeah.
And then that's what fast forward to where we're at today. So that's what I want to zoom in on real quick because I actually do want to ask in a little bit about your like high school and end of high school days. But
Cool.
When you were going through like, doing the striping jobs in the Midwest, like probably rolling around the Motel 8s, the Holiday Inns, right? I mean, I'm from Ohio, so I know the Midwest is like,
oh my God.
Hey, look, the weather
Michigan,
sucks.
crazy stuff.
I mean, this guy knows too. It's just cold and ugly up there, man.
Yeah.
Everybody's angry. It's all right.
Everybody's angry, yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? But early days, man, you take what you can get because the check cashes.
Yeah.
And then you alluded to this earlier, but eventually in scale, you actually can't take the smaller jobs per se because the resources that you can allocate to the smaller jobs actually disrupt the bigger jobs, which means that's a bad investment.
Correct.
So what was that like getting to the place where, you're starting just doing the striping jobs, the little knick-knack contractor jobs in the Midwest to where you guys are a pretty well-known name around here now, doing all type of new builds, renovations, everything. What was the scaling process like?
The scaling process, man, it's just, it's such a unique, and I feel like, I'm sure everybody has stories like this, that my friend, who unfortunately we're not friends anymore, when we were doing that thing in the Midwest, for his family, and when he was getting jerked around, I had already had my LLC. I had already been doing these little small jobs, and, he pretty much, I'm like, hey, look, man, like he's a hardworking guy, like great guy, one of my best friends, like it's crazy. I'm like, dude, like, don't worry about your family, man. Let's go home and like, let me show you how we can do this thing back in Wilmington. Like, I already got the kind of like a blueprint. Like, just trust me. Like, let's do this together. Started up a partnership with my friend. I still kept my LLC. but I was, we started up this company, Next Level Innovations.
So separate LLCs. Then
Separate
okay.
LLC, but I still had my LLC. So when I got paid through Next Level Innovations, I just paid my company, continue to keep it rolling. Which again was to ultimately get to that 2-year mark to accomplish my goal. So I had that instilled in my brain, and I was super dedicated. We started, doing fences. Hurricane Florence had came by and knocked a lot of fences down, doing, a lot of damage to a lot of, places. This is like 2018, 2019. And, I think that we were doing these jobs, and the money, I think, honestly might have got to. I'm gonna tell you my side of the story.
Say how
that's
it is,
how
man.
I mean, like people know me, man. I'm a great guy. Like people know me locally. I think the money kind of got to my partner a little bit, or whatever got to him, and then he kind of felt like when you're in business and you're trying to grow, you're trying to make these decisions early on to help the growth of your company.
Reinvest.
Whether it's like, hey, look, if maybe one of us has got to be out there on the field working, harder than the other, but on the back end, the company is still growing. You can't grow a company if you're working in the field all day long.
Yep.
So you got to find that balance. But now it could rub people the wrong way too. So we ended up splitting up our company, I want to say in 2020. So from like 2018 to 2020, we had this partnership, and this is my best friend again. And he decided he, wanted to do his own thing. It kind of got a little ugly, which I hate because, I'm a super fair person. It's like, put everything on the table and let's figure this thing out.
Yeah.
That's how business is done. Now, not everybody does business that way. People are cutthroat. People are snakes. People are going to do what they want to do because they don't know. They're not as genuine, or their heart might not be the same as mine, right? I got a huge heart. My heart's like, it's big. So we ended up splitting. And at that time in our partnership, we were doing a lot of decks and things like that. And decks paid the bills, like great money, man, like doing these cool decks. And again, with the networking, like I went and met with these reps, like with Trex, a composite decking company. We do a lot of their decking. It's probably laid out over there. But going out and meeting these reps and doing these things like that, building relationships with these brands, and they paid the bills. It was great. So when we split, it was really hard because I had 2 kids at the time, and I had a new house, and my partner had pretty much like convinced all the guys turn their backs on me, which is like really crazy. But it can happen, especially if one's in the field more than the other. Things it's unfortunate. But even after it all happened, everybody Chris, I'm sorry that happened. I wish I didn't, which I respect because, again, I'm a great guy. And it's funny because, again, my background is in construction because my family has been doing it since 1999, building these big $1 million custom homes. So I knew a lot of people too, and people that wanted to help me. I have a guy, his name is Tom. And Tom, whenever me and my partner split, it was a really rough time, and I didn't really have any workers. I didn't have any employees. And it's just so weird how God does things and blesses us, because
Come on.
literally, man, it's like when we split, I started getting these calls about doing these really big jobs, and it was like, man, where are these people coming from? Like, how do they even get my number? I just got a new company. Like, how do they have my number? How are people calling me?
The Lord's yellow pages, baby.
And it was just like, man, I was getting these bathroom remodels and getting these big decks and doing these things, and I was in the field managing them. But I had a guy, Tom, at the time, older guy. He worked for my uncle, worked for my dad. He's a kind of a family friend of ours, and he decided, hey, Chris, I got your back. When me and my partner split up, he's like, man, I got you. And he's a guy that's he can do it all. He can do deck. He's an old school carpenter. So I'm rough around the edges, but he
Gets the job done.
Yeah, for sure. So having him come in and help me, he ran a crew for me as I continued to start to grow my business. I was letting him run these deck crews and things like that, while I was in the background, okay, well, I'm going to meet, I had a sales guy at Lowe's. His name was Scott. He works for me currently. He was one of the guys I bought my material from. You know, I decided, hey, to reach out to him. Hey, Scott, look, I need you to come in and work for me. You know, what's it going to take? Because I can't go to all my meetings. You know, I can't, you know, I need to be able to do this and do that and do this. And I was working, you know, literally all day long. And I've got a family at this point, right? Working all day long and then having to do all my meetings in the afternoon and then having to do the paperwork and do the estimates. Like it's from 7 to midnight every day. So I'm trying to scale. All right, so let me get somebody that can go to meetings for me so I can continue to network because, okay, I've got my guy Tom in the field, but I'm going to all my estimates and whatnot. But like, I need to be able to, you know, step away and do my thing and be able to, you know, manage the jobs and try to take a little bit of pressure off me too. So, you know, and that's a part of growth, you know, that's things like some company, you know, I think, and that's just a business mindset, you know, because you can get really lost in the weeds with going to work every day and doing the job, and not caring about where your company is going to be. But my vision was like, I could see through that. And that was another thing, like with my partner and I, like try to convince him that that's something that we needed. And I'm like, hey, look, we need to get an estimator, someone that's going to do this for you. Like he couldn't see it. And I was like, you know, like, what do you
He was
know,
too stuck into work.
Yeah. Like we gotta do this. Like, this is how we're going to grow. So, anyways, so that kind of helped with that. And then, you know, just meeting people, like I've got really good friends with, you know, big time guys in town, whether they're realtors or mortgage lenders or business owners and things like that. And then just kind of like, looking up to them a little bit and being like, you know, you're pretty successful. Like, let's talk about, you know, and kind of, you know, being able to be humble enough to sit back, listen, and watch to see how some of these guys are doing. Like, okay, you're in real estate. Well, I can build a house. What can we do? Let's, you know, talk to me. Like, let's make this happen. You know, so another thing is, you know, when I sold my house, the first house that I bought in 2018, when I sold it, you know, and I made that money, I started building myself another house. So that was another huge game changer for me, because I had bought this piece of property and I decided, okay, I'm going to build me another house, cash as I go, like over the years, before I even had my contractor's license, building it as a homeowner. And I was, you know, I made that investment. So, you know, let's just say in a 3-year span, you know, I had built my house as I was living in my first house. And, let's say I spent $250,000 cash. Well, when the house was finished, I owned the house and I went to the bank and they appraised it and said, hey, this is worth $450,000. So I was able to borrow a couple $100,000 from the bank. And that couple $100,000, I go to my friends who are in real estate and these business guys, and I'm able to sit at the table and have conversations about, hey, you want to buy this lot? All right, let's do it. Well, let's build a couple rentals over here. You know what I mean? And
so let me stop you there, because that's where we get into scale. That's like leveraging, and then using that cash to reinvest, like that. I feel like people don't really get into that until they're like in their 40s. And you're turning 31 in July, right?
Yeah.
See, I'm turning 31 in August, right?
Nice.
So same time, man. And so like I graduated 13.
Okay.
I was old for my class. You were young for your class, right? And I feel like half the friends that I have are like 10 years older than me.
Yeah.
It's just how my personality is. And what happens is like I see what they're doing and I'm like in the trail. I'm like, I'm going to do it before you did it. You know what I'm saying?
I like that. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
So in this vacuum of leadership that you're following, because that's really what it is. When you put the right leaders in your life, they pull you in the right direction. And I truly believe you're the summation of the 5 people you surround yourself with the most, right?
Yeah.
So you're putting yourself in that position. You're starting to think about investment differently. You're thinking about leverage. I mean, obviously you're using your resources to build a house, establish equity, pull the equity, reinvest, cash flow now, right?
Yeah.
When you're thinking about that for yourself and, you know, Delaney Coastal Construction, what does that look like? Is that something that, hey, I'm mapping out a year to 2 years, or am I just following opportunity by opportunity and reinvesting along the way as the opportunities present themselves?
So I would say that ultimately, I'm trying to think of what kind of like led me to.
Because some people are like opportunists, right? Like, man, this is shaping up to be an opportunity just because demand. Like, I wanted to buy, build yourself a house.
Yeah.
And then opportunity comes and comes. Or is it like, are you like one of the deliberate guys who's like planning a couple years ahead?
Well, so I set goals for myself really early on. And that's a huge thing, right? Like setting goals is very huge because like if you don't set a goal, what are you working towards?
Yeah,
you know, like what are you doing? So I want to say that, and it's funny because I set so many goals at a young age that and I accomplished them very quickly. So I guess it's a combination of both because I'm kind of sporadic too, and I like the pressure. I like to be able to put me up against the wall, let me come out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And put yourself in a tight space, like building that house. Like that my second home when I was building it, it was investing all my money into this thing, and I probably at the time couldn't have gotten a loan from the bank to do it. Also, I wasn't a licensed contractor at the time either, so you can't, I would have had to hire somebody to build my house for, with the bank, et cetera. So if I'm building it myself as a homeowner, because I'm in the space, I've got these guys that I deal with already doing these little jobs. So I just kind of set it up as a savings account for me. It's like, okay, I'm going to dump this money into this project and then it's going to pay off. So I guess I ultimately knew that, but it was tight. It made me uncomfortable.
What is it about that pressure? I'm interested in this.
I love it,
bro.
man.
What is it about that? Because I feel the same
I
thing.
be on
the
pressure.
more I'm in a pinch, the better I perform. But I don't understand it though. Like, what do you think that actually is?
I think that like the pressure, it's like I'm a Leo. I don't know if that means anything, but it's like I feel like I just want to be able to prove it to myself, and then I also feel like I want to prove doubters too. I feel like people might like. I feel like maybe in my head. And I'll be honest too, another thing is when me and my partner split, man, that made me super competitive. I wanted to crush it. I wanted to like, oh, word. Okay, well watch how I'm about to blow up. Like I'm about to do way better than this guy. That was like such a drive for me,
Is
right?
he still around?
Yeah, he is. I don't really pay attention to him, but yeah, it's like I needed that though. Like I wanted that. I may not have needed it, but it was very, very, it helped a lot because like, my friends might have known the situation, and I know a lot of people, so it's like, I feel like they just wanted to help me grow too, So, but I mean, I think like whenever I have my back against the wall, it's risk taking, right? How do you get the big reward without taking these risks? And if you can't feel this pressure, then
it's probably not big enough,
right? Yeah, so it's like I need to feel that to be able to feel like I'm gonna get to where I want to be, because if I feel like if I'm comfortable, I'm gonna be comfortable. If I'm uncomfortable, I need to try to get. If I'm uncomfortable, I need to try to get back to being comfortable. So sometimes putting yourself in that financial situation or that spot or something that, and it makes you work harder. Yeah. You know what I mean? 100%. Like it really does. Like so, 100%. And you're like, man, I got this family to feed. I got to take care of all of these people who are depending on me. And it's like, I'm already feeling that pressure. So it's like, I got to go hard every day, so I love it, and now it's like things are great right now. And, I'm looking to, I was trying to close on a deal this week, a really big deal that was going to make me really uncomfortable. And, it didn't work out, which hey, things happen for a reason. But I'm looking to get back into that, because like I don't want to be complacent. I don't want to stay in the same place. I want to keep growing.
Yeah, I actually want to stop there for a sec, because that to me is probably, I have written down like there's some things that you're saying right now, like sacrifice, competition, things like reinvestment early on, to see what separates you from the rest of the guys, especially your age. But I think there's something that I want to lean into right now. This whole competition thing and this whole complacency thing, I feel like it gets so uncomfortable for people. Nobody likes to talk about that. Competition's good.
Yeah.
I can run with you and still want to beat you.
Yes.
I can run with you, throw you work, and still want to ball out on you at the same time.
I agree.
For us to be able to be like, we can't run together, in the same lane against each other and still support each other and be respectful. It's like, to me then, bro, you're getting your emotions too deep in your work.
Right.
Be practical, grind, throw it my way, I'll throw it your way. Or guess what? We're bidding against each other. It's going to happen. That to me that's when iron sharpens iron, man.
Right.
And the backside of that is like when you get too, like, I don't want to compete with anybody, that to me is folding into complacency.
Right.
And this word is so important because if you're getting comfortable and complacent, you start to ignore the things that matter that used to make you who you were.
Exactly.
That got you to this point.
That's right.
And then all of a sudden you're sitting and you're looking around and then you're looking for the easy things.
Yeah.
And then you get stuck.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm
Yeah.
not trying to preach here, but like that is exactly, I feel like, what drives me nuts about like the 40 to 55-year-old business owners right now. Because it's like y'all are, you grinded, you did it, you're in a good place, but like you're not done yet.
You got to get uncomfortable to be comfortable,
Come
man.
on.
And it's seriously like that's like, and I don't know how it like, you know, I used and I'm not trying to like bash anybody because that's not my intentions. It's just happened like that, you know. Like I felt like, you know, my own family, like when I stopped working for my family building or whatever, you know, they were hating on me. So I'm like, I got to prove these people wrong. I'm gonna prove them wrong, and then me and my partner fall out. Well, I got to prove him wrong. I got a point to prove to everybody. I want to be able to, the most successful people, I want to feel like I can sit at the table with them and have these conversations. And I just felt like, you know how it is, man. We're in a world where people are discriminated against, you know, and you know, who knows, you know, like look at the color of my skin. Like, I'm going to say it. Maybe I shouldn't, but like, I feel like, you know, that could be a huge factor. So I like to prove it to the doubters. Like, you know, that I can be the most professional person that I need to be. I can go wherever and talk to anybody, but I need to, you know, like, I want to prove a point to everybody and to anybody who may look at me a certain way or feel like I can't do something. Like I just had a chip on my shoulder. I just want to prove it to them. Like, you know, like and then when you get to that point where you don't feel it anymore. You know what I mean? Because like that's how I feel nowadays. I don't really feel like how I felt like, you know, a few years ago. I feel like, you know, like I'm more confident too. You know, so being able to acknowledge things like that is huge too, because some people are so, you know, blind to the reality. And I'm super like, you know, I can read people. I can get in there and like vibe and see what's going on. And I can play that game too. I call it a lot of times to everybody. I call it politics. I politic with everybody because you got to be able to, you know, get in and bend and move with people and read them and things like that. Because sometimes, you know, and you got to be able to put your pride to the side. So many people are so big on this freaking pride thing. Man, listen, I do what I want. Literally, like I take care of my family. I love my life. I love my relationships. I love people in general.
You still got to play the game, though. You
got to play the game. It's a game. It's a game. I love the way you said that because that's very, very true. Like it's a game, and you got to be able to you know, politic. You got to be able to have these conversations with people and talk to people maybe you don't want to talk to and you know, but and
I hate that part about it, but it's real.
It's so real, and it's a part of business. I mean, it really is. Like, you know, I could be like, you know what, I don't like that person. I'm not going to talk to them. But we'll like,
it's money out of your pocket then.
Why? Like, why not? Why? Like, you know, if I can, you know, like, because there are people who I deal with who like maybe I'm like, man, like this guy's a piece of, you know, a real piece of work, and or like super greedy or super, you know, like they're just not like me. Like, why are these people not like me? I'm like, I want people to have my same heart. Like, not everybody's going to be like me. Like, I'll do something for you for free, but you want to charge me money. Like, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just not that type of person. Like, I'll give you the money. Like, I don't care about the money. I want you to be like, I want you and me to like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You know what I mean? And I get it. You know, business is business. So not everybody's going to be like that. But at the same time, you know, I do. I think I kind of got lost with what we were saying.
No, you're
there,
good,
so.
Man. No, ultimately, this is exactly what I love, man. I only got like 2 more questions for you, but this is exactly what I wanted to get out of you, man. Is like the fabric of who you are, especially because this is a competitive crowd in Wilmington. Yeah. Bro, it's competitive. There's a ton of contractors, and let's be real, Josh. There's a ton of marketing agencies in Wilmington too, bro. If I had $1 for every agency and contractor and esthetician and photographer in Wilmington, we'd all be rich, right?
100%.
But ultimately, what it comes down to is like, what separates, why are you still going? Why are you still going? Why are you still going? Why am I still going? I truly think it comes down, somebody has to own one specific thing that keeps you pushing, whether that's like, hey, man, I've got a vision, or I've got a chip on my shoulder, or I'm good with people. Most of the time, when it boils down to is you're good at one thing, and then you hire somebody else to be good at another thing. Right?
That's right.
So my last question, my second to last question for you is this. Like, what is the hire that you're like, man, if I had this, we could double in 2 years, 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
What's that person that you need right now?
Let me think. What is that person that I need right now? I need myself.
You need to double yourself.
I need to double myself.
It's like a COO.
I need myself.
Okay.
Yeah, that's and I'm glad because when I said that, I didn't even mean it like that. But I find myself saying that very often because, I need somebody that's going to be able to want the responsibility and also but at the same time, yeah, I mean, I need somebody that's going to be able to, because if I need myself, and then I would say, really, yeah, I mean, because I feel like I got the network. I feel like I got it. It's just a matter of trying to double me so me can run this, and then me continue to use my. That's like, I don't know how these people like Elon Musk, how is he doing SpaceX? And
it's because he delegates, bro.
I know, and I'm a king delegator, and it's like, it's like, I feel like
an assistant.
Yeah, so I've got that. It's like just, so, but those are things that I'm working on right now as well. Like my project managers are very good. They're very helpful, but you also have to like let them mess up for them to get good too. So you got to be okay with, like, believe it or not, I feel like that's just what happens, because if you want to put yourself in this position to grow, like, you're going to have mistakes that come up along the way. If you want somebody, if I want my guy to be like me, well, he's got to make those decisions, and those decisions can cost thousands of dollars 100%. If he doesn't know what he's doing. So, you got to be able to be okay with letting that happen. And so I'm trying to take a step back from my normal micromanaging personality, because I want things to be like how I want them. And that's what I'm working on right now, which is cool because that's what I need to grow. And I've got, I'm young in my career. In the next 2-3 years, my guys who are working for me right now, they're doing a great job. I'm going to, be able to do more things because my guys are going to be able to step in and fill that role of me and be another me. So
yeah, that's it. I mean, that's huge, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like this ladder, and it's like you can't actually grow in a business unless from the bottom up, foundation up, you're built up. So like the more I build my team down from the new hire soldiers all the way up, like the better they do, the more the team, I mean, rising tides, right? And so one of the things that I want to ask you, because I think this does play a factor in it. You've got roots here.
Yeah.
You've got a business here.
Yeah.
You feed families here. You got mouths to feed, bro. Yeah. I mean, you're 30. Half the people that work for you I know are older than you.
Yeah.
Probably more than that.
Right.
But at the end of the day, Wilmington is home, man.
Yeah.
What is it about Wilmington like that, and obviously don't tell me you hate Wilmington. Tell me what you love about Wilmington.
Yeah.
But like, tell me about your hometown, man.
Well, one, I was born in New York.
Oh, okay.
My mom is a Philly girl and my dad's a New Yorker. And, so I'm a big Eagles fan. Go Birds. But then also, I pretty much, like, my family moved around a lot. When I was younger, I lived in Florida. So I lived up north. I've lived down south. When we moved here, I was 10. And man, I mean, like, what more can you not, this place is perfect.
Yeah,
We've got a downtown. It's like, we've got multiple beaches. We've got perfect weather. We have somewhat of a winter. I mean, yeah, we have a great winter. Sometimes it snows, and, but then also being a contractor in this space, because I'm not the only person who acknowledges all of these great, things that Wilmington has to offer. I feel like even in a slow season, we're still going to be doing better than the next community, because we're just, look where we're at.
We're moving,
people
man.
love Wilmington. This is like like one of the like largest places for growth. Like, people are moving here like crazy.
Yep.
So I definitely think that that plays a huge part into being able to grow. I couldn't tell you what my story would be like if I lived in Kansas. You know what I mean? So, I'd say that being in Wilmington is pretty solid. I love the weather. I love the beach. I love the vibe.
Yeah.
kind of suits me very well. I really love it. Yeah.
I feel that, man. Yeah, I'm from the Midwest too, man. I've lived in Texas. I've
Yeah.
done the South thing too, man. Wilmington is perfect, man. It's like, it's a good place to call home, man.
Yeah.
It's super homey, but it's a small city that offers big city amenities.
That's
man.
right.
You
That's
know?
right. Exactly.
There's a lot to do here, man. But look, bro, this has been awesome, bro.
Thanks,
I
man.
appreciate you,
I appreciate
man. We
you,
do this
seriously.
together in like a few days,
That's
too,
awesome.
man. I appreciate Josh. Thank you, bro. Look, man, do you mind if I pray for you real quick, bro?
Absolutely,
I know
man.
you're a Christian.
For
Let me
sure.
pray for your business, man. Let me pray
Yeah.
for you, man. And I just wanna end it that way.
Yeah.
Lord, today is the day that you have made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Father, thank you so much for Chris and just the audacity that you've built in him and the blessing that you have been able to just bless the city with through Delaney Coastal Construction, Lord. I pray right now, Lord, that you would just go before him and his business right now, Lord, and just begin to establish a path, Lord, that honors you in this city, that establishes your legacy and provides fruit through Chris, for his family, and for all the mouths he feeds, Lord. I pray that you go before him, Lord, and just show him the path that honors you most, Lord. And I pray that you continue to rise up a team around him so that he can be able to work on the business, Lord, and continue to thrive and grow, Lord, and create the waves that he's making here in Greater Wilmington, Lord. Bless this, bless our relationship, Lord, and bless the future. It's in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Man, that was awesome, man.
Let's go,
seriously,
bro.
Seriously, man. It's
My
been
man,
a pleasure.
bro.